Hi there, guys, and well, you made it to part 2, apparently. Without, yeah, whatever. Anyway, ending off of the intro, just gonna get back to the story and see you guys at the end of the story. Apple Bloom pranced through the forest piles of brilliant white snow that covered the hills of sweet apple acres before suddenly ducking behind a tree. "I'm gonna get you," a voice called from the other side of her cover, followed by a small barrage of snowballs. Apple Bloom laughed and ducked her head. Before laughing out in the open, several cold projectiles of her own nested in her scarf as she held one end of it with her teeth. Applejack was unarmed and held her hooves as if to surrender, but Apple Bloom didn't intend to let her get off that easily. She began tossing snowballs left and right with her front hoof, some hitting her target and others missing by a long shot. Applejack laughed and lifted up a large chunk of snow. Much to Apple Bloom's terror, the filly squeaked and turned, galloping for the farmhouse door, knowing that Granny Smith would have Applejack's neck if she made a mess on the floor. Laughing, Apple Bloom pushed through the screen door and quickly closed it behind herself. With a sigh of relief, she attempted to catch her breath and turned to watch her sister's approach. Her bright smile shone, while her eyes scanned over the snowy field, searching for a sneak attack from Applejack. Any moment now, she might spring out, laughing from her hat on her head and snowballs ready to fire. The minutes ticked slowly by, and the filly's grin slipped gradually into a confused grimace as Applejack failed to approach. Apple Bloom glimpsed a headed back outside, worried of an ambush or suddenly barrage of snowballs. She trudged through the snow, casting her gaze around. "Big sis?" she called out. The only reply was the crushing sound of her own hoofsteps. "Applejack!" She was hit with a sudden gust of icy wind, and the snow began to fall again, coming down heavily. "AJ, where are you at?" Her eyes widened in fear as she began to breathe quickly as she picked up her pace to a center. Apple Bloom tugged her scarf a little tighter as she approached the last place she had seen her sister. Suddenly, she stopped, frozen, as she spotted a pail of snow larger than the others. Half buried inside of it, an orange mare lay very still. A small pool of blood formed at her mouth, and a brown hat resting about a foot away, covering in the still falling snow. "Sis, get up." Apple Bloom galloped to Applejack's side and shoved her muzzle beneath her, but she didn't have the strength to lift her up. "This isn't funny. Get up, will ya?" She pushed on her sister's chest with her front hooves, trying to raise her. On the verge of panic, she turned and rushed back towards the farmhouse, yelling frantically as she ran. "Big Mac, come quick! I just hurt." The large red stallion picked his ears up and quickly toward to the door to investigate. "What you mean, she's hurt?" "Follow me, quick!" Apple Bloom galloped faster than she's ever had before as she led the way back to her fallen sister. Big Mac's eyes widened in shock as he spotted his sister laying in the snow, and he quickly stooped to hoist her onto his back. "Go tell Granny. I gotta get her to the emergency room. Got it?" With tears pouring down her cheeks and snowflakes dotting her mane, Apple Bloom nodded and ran back. As her older brother galloped down the snow-covered path to Ponyville, Big Mac proceeded through the emergency room doors, shivering and panting desperately for breath. Two orderlies promptly hurried to his side and lifted Applejack into the wheeled bed, pushing her into the examination room. A white mare with a dull pink mane stepped up to help brush the large mounds of snow off of the stallion. "Are you feeling alright, sir?" "I'm fine. I need to know what happened to my little sister." His voice was soft, desperate, the agonizing pain in his chest. "I need to see her. I need to see that she's still breathing." Big Mac looked into the nurse's eyes, cracks beginning to appear in his strong emotional walls. Sympathy washes over her. Nurse Red Heart placed a hoof on his shoulders and sighed. "She's in good hooves, I can assure you that. Please, fill out the papers. The faster you do, the faster everything else can move along." Blinking the tears out of his eyes, caused by the icy air he had been breathing while galloping to the hospital, but more so as a result of the nearly overwhelmed worry for his sister. Useless information. "I assure you, one thing did catch his eyes, doing our very best to take care of her. Does any pony in the patient's family have a history of heart disease?" "I need you to tell me everything you know about the situation." He sat heavily and lifted the quill. "And try to answer as many of these questions as you can." Her heart rate is there, but it's weak. The nurse huffed over a clipboard and a quill, and directed him at the doctor before moving out of the way. "She's just waking up now." The brown stallion gripped the chart in his hooves. His expression darkened as he looked it over. Where am I?" Applejack cracked open her eyes and tried to lift her hooves, but her muscles betrayed her. "You're in Ponyville Intentional Care Unit. There's have been an incident." The doctor explained, his tone carefully. I ain't got time for this. It ain't my time yet." Applejack turned her neck and used all her willpower to make herself lean up. "Please, ma'am, don't move. I have some important news." The doctor turned to the nurse, who nodded and exited the room. "Your heart is failing. You don't have very much time left. I'm sorry to have to put it this way, but when you fall asleep, you won't wake up back up. It's important that you use this time to say goodbye." "Nah, no. That ain't right, Doc." Applejack took a deep, wheezing breath. "They say I still got 5 more years. At least 5. With a pained sigh, he placed the clipboard down at the foot of the bed. "You were told to take it easy, Applejack. You've been working your weak hard twice as much as any average pony." "I just can't sit around when there's work to do, Doc." "What are you saying?" Applejack looked into his eyes, her own starting to tear up as she began to grasp the reality of the situation. "I'm sorry. I truly am. But today is your last day. Your family is in the waiting room. I'll bring them in so you can say your goodbyes." The doctor wiped his eyes and exited the room. Applejack lay still, her frail heart trembling painfully in her chest. She strained and lifted her front leg, seeing a dozen wires and tubes attached to her. "Is this really it? Oh, Celestia, help me. They still need me. I can't go now. Not now." "Sis?" A shallow voice came from the doorway, followed by a small filly rushing to the mare's side. Hey there, Apple Bloom." Applejack reached down and hugged onto the filly as she climbed onto the bed. "We missed you," Apple Bloom said, sniffling and laying her head on her sister's chest. "I missed you too." Applejack hung onto her, tears still fresh in her eyes as she looked up at her older brother, who stood silently in the doorway. "Did they tell you?" Applejack asked quietly. "You're up?" His voice cracked as he spoke, as he dipped his chin, unable to quite meet his sister's eyes. Tell us what? Apple Bloom looked up with wide, worried eyes. Oh, nothing. Hey, don't sick ponies get ice cream around here? Maybe I can sneak you some. What you think? Applejack smiled and ran her hoof through her sister's mane. Yeah, that sounds great. I'm hungry, and all the food here is gross, Apple Bloom said, frowning. Hey now, you best be grateful that these ponies are kind enough to offer you something at all, you hear? Applejack raised an eyebrow at her sibling. Yeah, I am. I'm sorry. That's alright. You just got to be good, alright? Applejack whimpered, her hooves tighter around her sister, pulling her closer. I am being good. Applejack felt her cheeks grow damp once again. I know. I mean, you gotta be good all the time. You be good in school, and you do your chores. I will. Why are you crying? Apple Bloom leaned back, the side, and her sister's burning eyes enough to upset her as well. I just love you, and I'm worried about you. Oh, guys, I am so sorry for doing this to you, but it's late. I got other things to do. I wish I didn't, so I could just continue reading to you guys. I just have fallen in love with doing this, man. I'm gonna do this regularly, every day. Try to at least make 2 videos per day. Lot of videos just reading stories like this. This one, you guys didn't hear it, but I actually choke up a little bit. You guys won't be seeing that part. Haha. Anyways, yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this reading audio or whatnot, and I hope you guys continue. Please share, favorite, subscribe, all that wonderful whatnot, and I'll see you guys in the third part of this video, where it starts to get more serious, if you will. Man, this video is gonna make me choke. Yeah, see you guys later.